Step 1. Get over this hangover that is the great gay uncle of all hangovers. Maybe it isn't a hangover at all. Feelings murky. Apart from the drive-in movie in my skull projecting scenes from when I was at Lucy's last night. Now it appears instead of me getting to the bottom of my feelings from the bottom are getting to me. Jesus.
A lot of moments of inner monologues happening here and taking place, and you kind of see this expression of spoken word poetry. So we get these extreme close-up shots of the mouth, and it just really helps us really focus and take in the words that these characters are experiencing. And we not only cut to a close-up of their lips, but we also cut to close-ups of their eyes and their bodies, and it just shows really bringing in the sole focus of these two individuals and who they are in their space when they're alone and who they are when they're in this space together in this as much as we are getting the information, the characters aren't communicating with each other. So we kind of get to see what's going on in their head, and then we get these moments of interactions of them together. And we're kind of ultimately creating this intensity and waiting for this moment where they connect. And we kind of get to see the buildup to this moment, and so it kind of brings this thrilling experience out of a romantic tale.
What's interesting about this is the use of monologue, and these monologues are representative of inner thoughts, like a stream of consciousness, and they're performed as such. So after this wild night at Lucy's, these guys find themselves sharing a bowl, and there's obviously some sort of sexual tension between the two, but they're not aware of it because one thinks one is straight, the other one is not completely sure about how the other one feels about him. And we go between the inner consciousnesses of each character and then intercut to the scenes where they're actually interacting with the smoking weed. And the inner conscious monologues at times feel like spoken word, and they provide all sorts of exposition on the inner thoughts of the character. So as an audience, we are getting information that the character themselves are not getting faster than they are actually able to process it in the real time of these scenes, because we're getting a glimpse of the inner consciousness and almost the inner thoughts. It's almost as watching this that we can read their thoughts.
The cinematography in the intro sequence was really wonderful. It set the landscape. We kind of understood we were somewhere maybe in the Midwest, maybe in a college town, without saying it right up front. And there were some really interesting shots. There were really tight shots on their mouth during the kind of poetic monologue sequences, which really intensified the script. The script itself, like I said, was very poetic. There were some fun play on words and alliterations. One of them that I wrote down was query the queer spirits, when Petey was suggesting he talk to the gay gods. And those monologues, again, were very emotional and allowed us to have a really intimate experience of what these young men are feeling the morning after sleeping together. In the script, I also really appreciated the use of slang. They use words such as chill and smoke you out, things that were very relatable, and it felt like it felt like a very casual, relatable interaction. The acting was really wonderful and authentic, and I thought there was a really interesting tension between the two principal male characters. At the beginning, they had this kind of really awkward dialogue, and then we learned that the two of them are actually fond of each other, which was really great.
Shows how complicated a gay romance and relationship is nowadays. As you can see, two characters just met with each other the night before at Lucy's, and they got to come back to see each other again on the next day. And in the short, they just show how unsure and like less confident they are when they got to meet again, like in the normal situation. And the dialogue, the monologue that they had like individually just show how hard it could be for for gay people like to show their love and how they care about each other, which is kind of against with like stereotypical ideas of gay people out there. And the short is well done. The music is kind of like make my heart bumping, especially in those monologues, because like it's kind of show how they got confused and they need to like figure out like how do they feel with each other. So I feel like this is a good well short uh to show like gay people have hearts.
It was a really slow burn, which you don't see a lot in films anymore. Usually it's they get together, right? It's like people get together right away, they fight, and then get married. A slow burn is definitely a little refreshing, actually, because it's not done as much as it used to be. Slow burns make relationships seem a little more realistic, actually, where they care about each other and you see more of who the character is outside of a relationship, a romantic relationship. You see who they are, and in a short film particularly, you don't always see that a lot. And in this, you saw it. You saw that they actually care about each other, that there's a little slowness to what they're wanting, a little bit of regret, a little bit of worries, and all this, and it compiles very well together to see what actually happens, so you actually root for these two guys rather than go, well, they'll be over in a week. This is one that you're rooting for them, and it's something you don't really have in films much anymore, because usually films end and you're like, well, they'll be done in a week, because they're not realistic, and this one put a little more realism into the slow burned relationship.
I think that the filmmakers were clever with their camera angles. I loved how they did this extreme close-up on just their mouths as they were talking. Kind of that inner monologue that the audience gets to hear, I think is a lot of fun. Cinematography was beautiful. The lighting was great. Acting-wise, yeah, both of them had such great chops. I mean, very organic, very believable, and you liked the both of them so much. So going along with them on this ride of where you're like, kiss him, just kiss him. Having that come about was just great. And I loved the special effects that they did on the sky.
I liked how the two main characters get basically to know each other after a big party. They try to remember what happened, although they're not entirely sure. But the more they remember, the more they fall in love with each other. Really enjoyed the editing as well. I think the final scene where we have this close up on the two main characters' lips, and while one listens, the other talks, and then there is the music in the background and these sudden changes between one frame and the other. I think it was very powerful, very strong. I really loved overall the overall vibe.